Buckle up, everyone. You're about to see exactly why all of your stocked food piles and your fuel that you have put away are necessary. I've been warning you for months now that this war was not going to stay confined to the Iranian shores or the Strait of Hormuz. Now, with what we are seeing, it's impossible to ignore. Shipping through the strait is collapsing. Iran is threatening full-scale retaliation. And the same drone warfare that has reshaped Ukraine and the Middle East is now moving closer to the point where it threatens American infrastructure, our fuel supply, and our fuel. U.S. forces, according to CENTCOM, have now launched a new wave of attacks on Iran. This marks the 7th and 8th straight nights. Now, CENTCOM says that they're trying to wipe out Iran's military capability. According to the quote, they launched a round of strikes for the 7th and now 8th consecutive night, and these are designed to continue degrading the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' military capabilities at the direction of the U.S. President Commander-in-Chief. Now, Iran's Major General Razi, they warned that if the U.S. attacks continue for 1, 2, maybe 3 more nights, then Iran will enter a full-scale offensive. They say they will no longer limit themselves to reciprocal strikes, and that Americans here at home should prepare for waves of Iranian missiles and drones. Now, the Major General there threatened us with financial compensation, saying that the American taxpayer, the U.S. taxpayer, should compensate the Iranian people for the damage, and that under no circumstances will the country or its people abandon their revenge for their martyred leader. They say that Iran's future security depends on avenging him and any other victim of this war. Now, U.S. forces have targeted military sites and infrastructure, and the country's existing military launched strikes on 5 different Persian Gulf states, including attacks on U.S. military forces in Syria and inside of Bahrain. Just look at some of this footage that we are looking at here behind me. The sheer destruction of what we are seeing shows you that this is a major conflict. And I don't know if there was some sort of psychological campaign that made sense for us to see a whole bunch of fireworks and explosions and hear booms here inside of the USA. And then when they turned around and did this again, it wouldn't seem like such a big deal. Because I don't know if you're the same as me, but I don't feel like what they're doing right now is as large of a conflict as when it first started in late February. I feel like some sort of psychological manipulation has taken place, because this doesn't seem anywhere near as destructive. It doesn't seem anywhere near as disastrous as it did at that time. Now, I don't know. Maybe they do know something else. Maybe they know that this is it. This is one for the long haul. And the Iranian people understand this too. I'm starting to see now petitions inside of Iran with people telling their politicians, don't write a legislation that says we're going to war. Do not negotiate with what they call the American terrorists. They're telling the people to pick up a gun and get into this fight. Now, that territory is very near what America saw during World War I and World War II. The American people were told to pick up their guns, get boots on their feet, and get into the middle of this fight. Now, I did just see another open line of communication, and this is scary because the last time we saw something like this, we started having terror attacks here inside of the USA. I just saw another line of open comms from the Iranians telling their people all over the world, attack. They're telling them that it's go time. They're telling them it's time to attack not just the Persian Gulf states, but also into Europe. And if the CIA is right in what they said in a couple of months ago, that they knew Iran was ready to attack London, Paris, couple of other countries, and if we know we have operators existing, or at least sympathizers for this crazy administration of the Iranians, sympathizers here inside of the USA, then you better watch your back. Every time you go to Walmart, every time you drop your kids off at school, every time the wife goes out to work, when you pick up mail, you better be watching your six at that moment in time, because the people who are operators inside of our country are not looking like some crazy Middle Eastern garb wearing person walking down the street. The people who will attack will look pretty similar to an integrated, everyday American citizen. And then there's another gray area, because we have some members of our politics saying, hey, take them all out. Get them out of this country. There's no room for anybody here that's not an American citizen. And that's one side of things. The other side is that they let millions, tens of millions of people into this country without as much of a, can I see some identification? They let them into this nation. They gave them money. You're paying their food. You're paying their health care. And they're here. So we don't know who might be an Iranian operator. We have no idea what might actually come in the next couple of weeks. But I have a feeling, and it's really a bad feeling. I have a feeling that we're going to see a pretty major attack here inside of our country. Now, like I said yesterday, I don't know if that's going to be a drone. I don't know if it's going to be an infrastructural attack, but it looks like we're going to see something here soon. Let's go ahead and see what else is going on. Look at this explosion. Now, these are obviously precision weapons that are being used. They're not just straight up sand bombing the entire Iranian countryside, but we do see video now that they are attacking the bridges and pathways, at least the ones that they can say, hey, these are the ones the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps are using. Their military is using these. Let's take them out. Now, this is really what I'm watching out for. Most people are looking at everything that's happening, the explosions, and that makes sense. But they're missing the part that will actually reach us here at home. Only a handful of commodity vessels have moved through the Strait of Hormuz. Oil tankers, gas tankers, they're staying away, and Iran is openly threatening to expand this into waves of missiles and drone attacks against any vessel that uses an Omani-directed or American-directed pathway. Only 3 ships crossed the strait on Thursday. That's the fewest daily since May. Most ships just made U-turns. They just turned right around because the Iranian attacks on vessels and the resumption of the U.S. blockade makes it impassable. This video right here, this is one of those bridge attacks that we talked about. You can see the bridge completely wiped out with some of the vehicles there wiped out inside of it. This is nowhere near over. And I told you that the real danger was going to start when this fight moved away from military retaliation and into economic warfare. And that's the moment that we're looking at right now. The oil route through Hormuz is nearly frozen. Iran is closing another major shipping corridor over at El Mandab, and infrastructure across the Gulf is being completely wiped away. The next phase isn't just about who controls the battlefield. We know this. You win a war by controlling fuel, food, and fear. Now, in a further threat to energy supply, Tehran has signaled that they will prod their Houthi allies inside of Yemen, and they'll close that El Mandab Strait. It sits at the mouth of the Red Sea. We see sources inside of Yemen telling Reuters and other outlets that if Washington attacks just one more time against Iran's infrastructure, then nobody's oil and nobody's food will move. We did just see a possible Iranian event in which 9 members of the Kurdish armed opposition group based in Iraq's Kurdistan, they were killed. This happened just yesterday, July 17th, in an attack on an exiled party that is blamed directly on Iran. And the leader of this Kamala party, this is of Iranian Kurdistan, says that it was the regime of Iran. They targeted and attacked with drones and rockets at an opposition camp. The strikes took out 9 members of the party at their camp near one of their major cities. And the Iraqi government, they're also blaming this attack on Iran. Now, I don't know how many times we have to sit here and that I have to warn people that this is the new reality. You cannot have cognitive dissonance, and you can't have NPC behavior anymore. You have to get to the store. You have to buy food. You have to get water. I don't care what you have to do. Build a moat. You have to do something. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed. Well, I gathered today's survival tip on radiation fallout. We're going to take a quick moment and hear from Radio Code. Today's episode of Full Spectrum Survival is brought to us by you, the viewer, and by Radio Code. In a radiation emergency, nothing matters more than information. Radio Code 0 measures radiation levels that are up to 9 sieverts per hour, and this helps you identify safe locations, detect weak points in sheltering, and reduce uncertainty by giving you live data instead of relying on guesswork. It has up to 200 hours of active operation on a single charge, an app that logs accumulated dose and mapping even though the unit operates on its own. And this will reduce uncertainty and panic when everyone around you is guessing what could be wrong. And most consumer models are low-range detectors, but Radio Code was built to take you from no detectable danger all the way through to finding safe shelter after a nuclear incident. You can get your own radiation detector by visiting the Radio Code link that's in the description box below, which already has a 5% discount. And this is just for the Full Spectrum Survival family. Now, Mike sent me in this survival tip. He said that we are right now witnessing a growing risk of radiological emergencies that are taking place. And this is a reminder to you and to me that our nuclear survival skills have to be learned before the alarms go off on your phones that are warning about an impending nuclear fallout. Of course, you need to have an ability to know what's happening, to know what's going on. You need that information. You need to be able to determine whether an area is contaminated or you can use something like a personal dosimeter. You need to know whether the interior room is safer than the exterior room. And you need to have emergency supplies, your sealed food and water. Remember, you can't just go out and get water after fallout is dropping on the lake. You need to have spare batteries, battery-powered or crank-powered radios, plastic bags for contaminated clothing, or buckets, enough buckets and garbage cans to be throwing everything inside of. You need to have soap for gentle decontamination, and you need to have really potassium iodide. Now remember that during the Chernobyl event, they used fruit pectin, apple pectin, because it binds to cesium and it allows everybody who eats the apple pectin, drinks it. It binds to it inside of their body, pulls it into their gut, and they pass it through their fecal matter and their urine. It's one of the reasons we have fruit pectin here on site. Folks, you need to get ready because harder times are coming. Make sure you are subscribed here. Share this video offsite. From my family to yours, you'll hear breaking news every day. Please stay safe and keep watch.